3.
Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. Bye.
All right. I hope everyone is having a great Memorial Day weekend. Having time maybe to relax, be with family, be with friends, or just some time off from work or whatever you all do on this weekend. I will try to make this devotional a little bit shorter, but I can't promise you that. But we'll just jump right in, and we're going to be talking about friends tonight or this afternoon. And we've talked about these two women before, but we're going to talk about them again. I won't go in depth with them because, like I said, we've had at least probably 5 or 6 devotionals on just these two people. But one of the women we're going to talk about today lost everything. She lost everything she had. She lost everyone dear to her. And then there's another friend who stuck by her through it all, through the good times, the bad times, the beginning and the end, and she helped her find life again. Now, can you all think of the two women that I'm talking about? The woman who lost everything is Naomi, and the friend who stuck around through it all is Ruth. We have talked before about the relationship, and most of us long for that kind of relationship. These two were very close, and it showed. They were very close in every aspect of their life. They deeply cared about each other. So we need to strive to be a Ruth-type friend. And that's what our Devo is going to be about today, is how we can be like Ruth in the friendship aspect. Now, I want us to think for a minute. If I told you today that you are moving tomorrow, what would you need? For me, I would probably need at least 2 moving vans, maybe 3, to completely clean out our house. But what if you have a shop? What if you have a garage? What if you have extra buildings, or maybe you have a 3-story house, or maybe you have 2 or 3 houses that you've got to clear out? We would need a lot of stuff, a lot of boxes, a lot of moving vans, a lot of help. Well, think about Naomi. When she wanted to return home after losing her husband and her 2 sons, did she need a moving van? No. She packed up her stuff and carried what she wanted. Now, there was a reason for that. If I asked anybody watching this today, if you were to move tomorrow, how many would you need? We have stuff we want, right? We have things that are valuable to us. We have things that we just can't part with. We have things that we need, necessities that we have to have for everyday life. Naomi didn't have that. Of course, I know we're talking about a whole different world, a whole different culture. Things were a lot different back then. But I want to think about or talk about Naomi's mindset. Remember us talking about how she thought she was empty? There was nothing to live for. She lost her husband and she lost her 2 sons. She told her 2 daughter-in-laws to leave, go their separate way. She just had herself. So it was easy when she got word that the famine was over and to go back home. She could just pick up her few belongings that she had and go on. But our life, if we thought about going back to telling you had to move tomorrow, if you thought your life was empty, if you thought you had no meaning to your life, would you want to take everything that you have gained, that you have collected, that you have in your house? Most of the times we don't. And when we move, what do? We have what? Big moving sales. We try to downsize. We try to get rid of old stuff so we can get new stuff. So we kind of do the same thing. But Naomi thought her life was so empty, and that is how she felt. She didn't take anything with her, or what she did take, she carried on her back. So she didn't have very much. Could you imagine? And when I was doing this prepping for this Devo, I was looking around my house. And, of course, when I do it, I'm looking into my kitchen. And I couldn't pack up what I needed in my kitchen in something that I could just carry by myself, let alone everything that I own or that I would want. That just blows my mind that you could imagine that she had nothing. Nothing she felt valuable enough that she wanted to take back home with her. But she wasn't always that way. When she made the trip to Moab, she didn't feel empty. Her cup was full. She had her husband. She had her sons. She was completely happy. Everything was right in the world. But life happened, and things began to go wrong. She lost her husband first. Then she lost her 2 sons. And she was filled with gloom when she heard that the famine was over in her hometown, and so she was eager to go home. So she got good news. She got excited. She wanted to go back home where she belonged. And this is where we see the friendship blossom between her and Ruth. We all know the famous exchange between Ruth and Naomi when Naomi tells Ruth to leave, and Ruth says, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Basically, I'm going to be with you no matter what. That's a pretty strong friendship. That is the beginning of a friendship. Naomi and Ruth created a bond based on trust, companionship, and kindness. Ruth was a true friend. A true friend is someone who accepts a person for who they are and stays by them no matter what happens. Can we say we are that friend? A lot of us bail when the going gets tough or when the situation gets a little uncomfortable, and sometimes we leave when that person needs us the most. Are we a Ruth? Can we stay there when things get bad? We know Ruth took care of Naomi by going out and gleaning the fields so that they would have food to eat. Again, as a friend, she was taking care of another. Yes, she was taking care of herself as well. She needed food. Yes, Naomi was just as much a friend to her, but Ruth took the initiative. Ruth went and made sure that Naomi was taken care of. And as a friend, we have to accept that we are different. Ruth and Naomi were different. Naomi was a mother. Naomi was older. Naomi had different experiences. She did not live the pagan life where Ruth did. So differences, you always hear opposites attract. So that may have been a reason their friendship was so strong. But just because you're different doesn't mean you don't want to be friends. And just because you're different doesn't mean you can't have that friendship that Ruth and Naomi had. Everyone is different, and that's a good thing. No one wants a world where everyone is the same. That would get very boring. As Christians and as a friend, we need to wholeheartedly accept one another. Romans 15:7 says, therefore welcome one another as Christ has welcomed you for the glory of God. Welcome in this verse means to accept. So I'm going to read it again, except I'm going to put the word accept where welcome is. So it's going to read, therefore welcome one another. Therefore accept one another as Christ has accepted you for the glory of God. We are to follow Jesus' example, and what are we to do? Accept those who are different around us. Don't shun them. Don't run away from them. Don't leave them out. We are to accept them. We're all different. God made us this way on purpose. Some of us are interesting. Some of us are eccentric. Some of us are just weird. But God loves everybody and accepts everybody, and so should we. Now, there's certain guidelines, certain things you have to do when you follow God. I'm not getting into that, but God loves everybody. Like I said, you have a set of rules, set of things that you have to do to get to heaven, to be a Christian. We all know that, but we are supposed to love everybody despite their faults, despite if they're eccentric, despite if they're just weird. We are to treat them like we would treat anybody else. 2 Corinthians 6:11-13 says, we have spoken freely to you. Corinthians, our heart is wide open. You are not restricted by us, but you are restricted in your own affections. In return, I speak as to children, widen your hearts also. We are told in this verse to open our hearts to others. Do we do that? Or do we just turn? Hey, they're, I don't know, I don't want to offend anybody when I say this, but they're all tattooed from head to toe, and that's not who I want to be around, so I'm not even going to speak to them. Or they have piercings other than their ears, and I'm ashamed to be around them, so I'm just not even going to try to be friends with them. I'm not going to speak to them. Or, they're dressed a certain way. They're not dressed to the hilt, so they're not my class of people, so I can't be seen with them. I can't, be with them. I can't sit next to them in a sporting event, or, that's not how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to have our hearts open to others. Sometimes is it easy? Sometimes are you going to be criticized for talking to a certain person? Sometimes are you going to be looked at for being around a certain person? Absolutely. But we are called to do it. We are called to have open hearts and to love everybody. When we are ready to be the friend that we are called to be, there's 3 things we need to do in our friendships. The first thing we need to do is encourage. And we talked last week about envy and jealousy and how we don't need to have that in our lives. We need to encourage each other and wish them well. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. How can you encourage? You can support. You can pray. You can give compliments. What if someone came up to you and said, you are always so cheerful. Your smile just lights up the room. Or, I know it wasn't easy to stand up for her like you did. That took a lot of courage. Or, you have such a giving heart. Or, you really worked hard on that. It shows. If I came up and said any of those things to you, would you be offended? No. You would appreciate it. It would make you feel good. Everybody likes to get a compliment. Everybody likes to, especially if you've worked hard on something, you may not want all the glory, but it's nice to be appreciated. I don't care if you're the shyest person in the world, and I'm speaking to myself. It is nice to hear, hey, you did a good job, or hey, I appreciate what you did, or hey, I know that wasn't easy, but you did it, or hey, I'm proud of you, or just a simple hi, or little things like that. It makes you feel good. It kind of makes you stand up a little bit more, doesn't it? Kind of puts a little smile on your face. You're being encouraged, and it may help you to go encourage somebody else. But some of you are sitting there saying, oh, I'm too shy. I don't speak to people. It's not my thing. I can't do it. I can think it, but I'm never going to say that to somebody. What about praying for them? They never have to know you do it. That's between you and God. But you're encouraging them, and you don't even know that they don't know that you're doing it. You know that you're doing it, but you're encouraging them. Everybody needs prayers. What about sending a card? What about just shooting people a text? Or Facebook Messenger, or I don't do this, but Twitter, or anything that's out there like that. Several ways. Just, hey, I'm thinking about you today. Or, hey, I don't know. You all know ways to encourage people. We can do it, whether we're shy or not. And we are called to encourage people. So are we? Are we encouraging people? The second thing we have to do in our friendship is initiate it. We never know when the person we contact will become a friend. Will all of them turn out to be friends? No. But why do we need to wait for someone to come talk to you? You go talk to them. And I think of 2 examples in this. And you want to talk about getting me out of my comfort zone. Kids will do that to you. They will get you out of your comfort zone. I think of the sporting events that Elizabeth is involved in, or the sports, not sporting events, the sports. And I cannot tell you, we've been playing for 3 years now, I guess, at least 2 years. And she plays something pretty much year round. And I can't tell you, we went through one sport where I have sat there the whole season and not talked to at least one other parent. It's just, and I'm the shyest person out there. I'm not going to initiate a friendship. I'm not going to initiate going up and talking to you first. But there's not one season that I haven't made a friend, that I haven't found somebody to talk to, or talk to me, or found somebody that I knew. That's one example. What about a new job? Again, this personal experience, especially not being from the state that I had the job in, but you walk into a workplace. You're brand new. And I think what just happened last weekend, we had graduation. You've got all these kids getting ready to go to college. Most of them are wanting a job, getting a job, wanting to start their profession for the rest of their life. What are they going to do? They're going to walk into this workplace. They're not going to know a single person. What do? Do you wait for them to come talk to you? Or do you go talk to them? Or are you the coworker that, okay, they're struggling, but you're going to wait for them to ask you a question. When they ask you, hey, how do you do this? You're just going to give them the briefest, shortest cold, answer? Or are you going to try to develop a friendship? Are you going to try to find out about them? Are you going to try to get to know them, to see what they like, what they dislike? What about church? When there's a visitor, and some of you all are going to laugh at this, but when there's a visitor that comes to church, do you go up to them or do you wait for them to speak to you? And you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, visitors don't come up and initiate it. Yeah, they do. They do. Now, they're going to remember if people came up to them or if they had to initiate it. But we have been places before where visitors have had to come up and speak to us before we speak to them. And I'm talking about Matt and I. I'm not talking about, Fulton, but I'm talking about Matt and I personally. Usually either Matt's busy, something's went wrong, and I'm not going to initiate it. That's my weak point. I'm not going to do it. But I will speak to you if you come up to me. Always. Should we be that way? To create it, to make someone feel comfortable, to encourage somebody. What better way to encourage if you have a visitor at church, if you have a new coworker, if you have a new neighbor, if you have a new whatever, to go up and say, hey, I am Paula. It's nice to meet you. We're glad you're here. We're glad to have you working with us. We're glad to have you in the neighborhood. We're glad, whatever. I have a neighbor I've talked to all a couple times about them across the street. I'm assuming they're from Texas. They have Texas stuff all over their house. Every time we're outside and they're outside, they holler, hey, just want to check on you. Hi, how are you doing? We've created that friendship. Did I initiate it? Oh no, I ducktail and run. I'll be the first one to tell you. But now, Halloween, she walked over and handed my kids a goodie bag. They were brand new to the neighborhood. Brand new. And I'm talking, she had these big goodie bags that she made for my children. The other neighborhood kids just got the candy out of the bucket. What did she do? She initiated that friendship. Now, are we best friends? No. We're working on it. We're working on a friendship. But she initiated it. It made it so much easier the next day when I walked out of my house and they're standing in their driveway for me to throw my hand up and say hi. Why? Because she initiated it. That's just me. But a simple just hi. The third thing we have to do is be devoted. We can't just be there for the good times. We have to be a friend in all seasons. Life's not a bed of roses all the time. We all know that. We know it. You can always find friends when things are going good. Where are your friends when things start to go bad? Where are your friends when you're having a bad week, a bad month, maybe even a bad year, a hard year? Think about this past year we just had. A lot of us were stuck in the house. We didn't want to get out. We were scared to get out. Where were our friends? Did our friends check on us? Were we a friend? Did we check on other people? What did we do? Are we like Ruth and the one friend that is there for someone in their lowest times? Or are we only there for the fun times? What kind of friend are we? That is what I wanted to talk about today. I told you all it would be short, and look, it's not short. It's about the same as it always is, so I apologize. But just think this week about what type of friendship you are, or friend you are. What kind of friendship do you want with people? And are you taking the steps to do that? And are you being a Christian when you're doing that? Are you following what God wants us to do in the friendships we already have and the friendships that we are going to create? Like I said, I hope you'll have a great rest of the holiday weekend, and I will see you all next week.